If we made it out here to the one and only YouTube, that could be the error. And chat, give me some thumbs up if you can see me and you can hear me. We had a little technical snafu here, so I am now producing. Let me make sure I am plugged in. There we go. Okay, I thumbs can see up if you can see me and you can hear me. We had a little technical snafu here, so we're going to be in a loop here, Inception style. All right. Well, here we go. Look at that. Unfortunately, you were the last one I did a show with, so I didn't have to update the template or anything. But here we are, a few minutes late. It's Awesemo NFL Live Before Lock. I am your old pal EMac. We are joined by Kyle Dvorchak here tonight, and we are, of course, sponsored by No House Advantage. We'll talk about them. But in the meantime, we're going to get on in here. So let's. So give me a thumbs up if you guys can hear me, please, in there. So I think you guys should. All right. I know we're a little bit of a delay, but me and technology, that's what they got. They now said, you know what, EMac, we're a little tired of the duct tape and baling wire that you run your shows with. So let's get you in a real asset here. Okay, perfect. There we are. All right. Okay. Let's have some fun here. So we've got off the top, I want to remind everybody that our promos that we're running right now, the two best ones that we will do all year, end today. So that would be 2021 is the promo code where you get 21 days of Awesemo premium content, all access, all everything for $20. That goes away after today. And if you want to jump in for the full annual pass, we're not going to be doing another discount like this until next year. But the full annual pass, you want 20% off the top. That's promo code HAPPY. So you'll want to check that out. No House Advantage, we'll talk about them. But if you go sign up over there, use the promo code Awesemo. When you make your first deposit, they'll match you up to $20. Refer a friend. As soon as they make a deposit, you get another $5. Beat your friends, not the house. No House Advantage. Kyle, in all that fun and excitement here, I did not pull the inactives, but I'm guessing nothing too crazy.
I can give you the inactives. We had on the Pittsburgh side, I think the only offensive players were Josh Dobbs, which wouldn't, we talked about this before. I don't think we're playing backup quarterbacks. I don't even think he would be technically the backup. He'd be third string. Anthony McFarland, which actually does matter a little bit if you're looking to target like a backup running back, which makes more sense because they'll actually be getting some touches, maybe not a ton, but some. So that kind of throws Jalen Samuel in the mix. And then on the Cleveland side, I believe in terms of the inactives we got that were actual news, we had Jamarcus Bradley and Marvin Hall, which is kind of interesting because they already had Kadarius Hodge, I believe, ruled out for this game, or ruled out technically he's on reserve COVID, I believe, which is why he doesn't show up on inactives. But that means they have a really thin receiving rotation. Maybe we see extra tight end. We probably see a lot of Donovan Peoples-Jones. So I think generally when we see a Marvin Hall ruled out, like he's a guy we may not have had projected for any points. But given that they have like just probably 3 receivers with like multiple targets on the season active, it's really interesting. It's sort of like NBA minutes rotations. We're going to tighten up this receiver rotation to like projectably 3 guys.
All right. Yes. Just double checking. God, they're not. So the key ones that we want to know is the Cleveland Browns were dealing with COVID. So that was a lot of issues. Okay, here we go. Finally got a good tweet. So yeah, so circling back, so the inactives now, and then we'll talk about, as Kyle said, a couple people on the because this will have an impact for us, a couple of people that are on the COVID reserve list. So they had to shut their facilities down again in Cleveland this week. They are without their head coach, I think their tight ends coach, and somebody else. They can't be at the game because they all tested positive for COVID. On the inactives list, as you mentioned, Brian Allen, Jamarcus Bradley, Marvin Hall, Joe Jackson, Javonte Moffett, Alex Taylor, Tedrick Thompson. Okay, so no big ones there, but I was kind of eyeing Marvin Hall a little bit because he was like basically the minimum on DK. So it would have allowed you to do some other things. Again, Kyle and I have talked about this a bunch. It's where you hope for 1 or 2 targets, and a 0 is a very likely outcome on those. On the Steelers side, safety Antoine Brooks. Defensive end Isaiah Bugg. You mentioned Josh Dobbs. Guard Danny Gora, Anthony McFarland, as you mentioned, and Jerome Elliott. On the key things that we want to talk about, so guard Joel Bitonio is out on COVID. Kadarius Hodge, as you mentioned, is out for COVID. Denzel Ward and Kevin Johnson, their 2 best cover cornerbacks, are out for COVID. What do the Steelers do? Well, they throw the ball 40 times a game on average. So that plays into their hands at this point. So that there's everybody off the top. Right now, it looks like we got about a 21 and a half implied point total going to Cleveland. And then for Pittsburgh, we're looking about, depending on what you're going with, about 25 to 25 and a quarter, 25 and a half, depending on the site. So those are the keynotes that we have there. Wild question, and I heard this, I think it was Spags asked this question on the earlier show. Baker Mayfield, how many times in his 6 appearances against Pittsburgh has he thrown for over 200 yards?
6 appearances. I'm going to say the context of the question tells me it's low. I'm still going to go with 2.
0! You will get
that.
0,
can't be right.
And you will like it. So I'm cribbing that one from him. But in my notes, I said only 6 times this season has Baker Mayfield topped 250 passing yards. He's failed to top 200 in either of his matchups against the Steelers this year. I say some gamers think he's going to have rushing upside. No. 165 yards and a touchdown this year. So don't confuse him with a Mitch Trubisky. He's kind of mobile, but there's really no upside. It's, 10 yards a game, and that's nothing. It's a point and a half per game. That's really not anything to write home about. The Steelers' defense has fallen down just a little bit. They have the best passing DVOA, now the 5th best rushing DVOA. They lead the league in sacks, interceptions, and total takeaways. So this is a tall order for him. Most lineups we're going to see tonight are going to be 1-5, 2-4, Cleveland on the short end of that. Talk to us about Baker Mayfield, because there's leverage here. What will that come to fruition? What is the probability of success?
I mean, I don't know. The probability of success seems fairly low. I don't think we have like ownership projections up for this slate. Although if you go into Fantasy Cruncher, you can actually just tab into, like, if you have the Fantasy Cruncher access, you can tab into from the Showdown Fantasy Cruncher this game only, and then you do get our ownership projections. I mean, if this is right, we have it's about an 8% disparity between Baker Mayfield and Ben Roethlisberger. And it's not that I don't think Baker Mayfield can have a good game. I mean, any quarterback is going to be at least worth considering, let alone Baker, who's not bad. He actually has a decent ceiling too. It's just, you need to have like a good shootout style game for Baker Mayfield to really attempt more than 25 passes or some absurdly low number, 30 passes. We only have an 8% discrepancy between the two. If given that they're within 1,000 of each other, given that they're going to be owned within 10% of each other, I break it with Ben Roethlisberger every single time over Baker Mayfield. The Browns are bottom 3 in passing rate. Pittsburgh is top 5 in passing rate. We have 2 teams that are diametrically opposed in how they want to play football. One of them wants to run through the quarterback, and one of them does not want to use their quarterback. If ownership and price aren't drastically different, I'm just going to do what makes the most sense.
All right, I'm gonna drop. Oh, do you have the YouTube chat up?
I can pull the YouTube chat up.
Oh, I was gonna say, I'm dropping the ownership for single game slate in there, so you can get.
Oh, cool.
That way, because it is up because of this, and it's not. We have so many different slates and sub slates and all of that. We were trying to land everything in the right spot, so we have everything updated. It just isn't always exactly where you think it's going to be. But this one, hey, it was. So that will help everybody out. No free stuff tonight. But tell you what, where are we? How many peeps do we have? What did I just say the word peep? 300 viewers. We have 50 likes. Get us up to 120 likes, and I will drop my 10 head-to-head $1 DK lineups in there for you guys to beat up on. And if Melissa's out there, I'm coming back. You're winning, but I demand satisfaction here. It's a duel. All right. So yeah, we're not excited about Mayfield. I'm okay with his receivers. Especially, I'm just playing DraftKings tonight, but the full PPR very helpful from that standpoint. Plus, with a couple Hall inactive and Kadero Hodge out, they kind of have kind of narrowed it down to the 3 guys. The running backs, I don't really want to play Nick Chubb. You're paying for him on both sides like he is the RB1 bell cow role, and we know that's not the case. Hunt, not exactly discounted either. I've set a rule where if either is captain, I'm not playing the other, and I suspect projection and price is going to keep me from mostly playing, keeping Chubb out of my flex spots, just because the point per dollar is not going to be there. That's not going to be just me alone. That's going to be everybody else. Is that a leverage spot you're willing to go with against one of the best defenses in the?
I wouldn't rule it out. Like, I think in large field tournaments, I think if it makes it, say you're running 20 lineups and somehow it makes it into the 19th lineup, it's probably going to get you very unique because people aren't going to be playing a ton of Browns, and they're probably almost certainly not going to be playing both the running backs as, at least last time I checked. Right now I have 5.5-point underdogs, depending on where you look. Nearly a touchdown underdog. People aren't going to be playing both the running backs, road underdogs of a touchdown to a really good defense. So by the standpoint that I think you should be in large field tournaments, the play action Millie Maker style tournaments, you should be bending over backwards to not duplicate. I think by that standpoint, it makes some sense. If you're playing in anything other than those contests, because of their team total specifically, and because they're such big underdogs, I don't have a ton of interest. And it's also because of the pricing. I think it's very possible that one of them gets there, but you actually need a decent amount of fantasy points for them to get there. You can't just skate by on, like, say Latavius Murray is kind of always like this going right now. Latavius Murray needs a touchdown to pay off his typically $2,000 price. That's not the case with either of Nick Chubb or Kareem Hunt. You actually need like good games from these guys, not just one like late game, backdoor cover style touchdown. You need good games from them, from both of them. So it's possible. I don't think I have any of it because I'm not playing in large field tournaments where my priority isn't solely to get duped, or to not get duped, I guess.
So the one thing I want to point out, Nick Chubb is the first 100-yard rusher against the Steelers this year. He is one of 4 running backs to top that milestone in the last 48 regular season games for the Pittsburgh. What that says is it's awfully hard for people to get to 100 rushing yards against them. I'm guessing it'll be about a 60-40 split with Chubb and Kareem Hunt. We know Kareem Hunt can play out of the slot. Sometimes he'll split out as a receiver with them down a little bit for the receivers. Not a surprise to see these guys both on the field at the same time. I don't think it really impedes the other, but we've got enough of a track record that we kind of know what's going to happen here. Andy Janovich is going to be on the field 10-15% of the plays. This season, he has 7 carries and targets combined. So putting that out there. Let's see. Rashard Higgins. I'm planting the flag there. That is where every slate he's been on, I've gone overweight to the field. He's the last guy going in my debacle of a full slate cash lineup. This is it. This is the culmination of the weekend. It's me coming down to Rashard Higgins. So here's what I have to say about him. So I would love to go to Jarvis Landry. However, the discount is it's too much. And again, I'm just playing the full PPR on DK. So these guys are both really good in that function. Since week 9, the week 9 bye, which was after Odell Beckham went down, Higgins has 37 targets to 53 of Landry's. And remember, they were both out that 1 week when no receivers were active because of the COVID protocol. But that's a lot closer than we expect, or I expected it to be, and that got me that way. Donovan Peoples-Jones has, he had a bruised brain concussion. He is active. I don't know what to do with him. I was ready to make the extreme discount to Marvin Hall. I don't know how excited I am about Donovan Peoples-Jones. What do you want to do with the wide receivers here? Because we have the trio of wide receivers. This is it. Very condensed group here.
Yeah, I don't mind Donovan Peoples-Jones, but like you said, I think I'd have been more interested in going for like the ultimate punt. But you and me have a type, man. We both love these like number 2, maybe not on the highest scoring teams, but just like mega air yards downfield burners who, in my opinion, the reason I like them is not just because like I have a type, like I like receivers who go vroom. It's because they have the ability to rack up a ton, like they generally rack up a ton of air yards. And that means they have the ability to rack up 100 or more yards on 4 individual plays and score a touchdown on at least one of those. So it's not that I stylistically like these guys. I think their range of outcomes is not, maybe not never, but is not often accurately captured in their price versus ownership dichotomy. Like we're going to see right now we have like a fifth of the field on Rashard Higgins, and he's fairly cheap. He's like the cheapest of the starting receivers if we kind of want to rule Donovan Peoples-Jones out because they're kind of a 2 tight end running back heavy team. The cheapest of the starting receivers with probably the highest air yard share on the entire slate. Actually, I'm almost positive it's the highest air yard share on the entire slate in the relevant sample sizes. So for the Steelers, that's like everyone is healthy through week 16. And for the Browns, that's post Odell Beckham. I'm just always going to that guy. You and I have the exact same thing where I think we just see like the mismatch of high upside style volume versus price versus ownership. I love Rashard Higgins. I actually think Donovan Peoples-Jones sort of plays the same role with just less volume. So I like him too. As a tournament flyer, I think he's probably the better tournament flyer. I think he's probably a better tournament flyer than James Washington or any of like, I don't know, Ray McLeod, or I don't even know. That might actually be all of the active receivers, but he's probably, of all the receivers, a better flyer than Washington or Ray McLeod.
All right, so super chat here from Josh Allen. Not sure if it's the Josh Allen, but he does have a Josh Allen picture, so I'm pretty sure this is a good chance it's Josh Allen. So thank you. Thank you. Hey, that was a good game yesterday. You helped out my teams. Appreciate that. And then what the hell? You couldn't throw better passes to John Brown? Come on. Come on. He's asking Rashard Higgins, or the Steelers defense. I would take Higgins.
Higgins or the Steelers defense. Yeah, I'll take Higgins. I think generally, especially with like defenses that we sort of have this like very high opinion of, the Steelers defense is good, but they face a team that honestly, even if they're not losing by a ton, really, it's only if they're down like more than a touchdown, we can project the Browns to be particularly run heavy. That's not great for ceiling performances from a defense. You want a bad quarterback dropping back 40 plus times. I think we have a decent quarterback in Baker Mayfield, to say the least, just not dropping back a ton. So you're not getting a ton of potential for like pick sixes, horrible mistakes, sacks, and like on a per snap basis, because Baker Mayfield is probably decent. And then you're not getting that potential multiplied over a ton of dropbacks because they don't want to play fast, fun football. They want to grind out Nick Chubb 20 times, add in Kareem Hunt 10, and try and win this game. Let's call it 24-22 if you want to throw that number out there. So I think the Steelers defense, while really good, just won't have the requisite opportunities that someone like Rashard Higgins will. Rashard Higgins.
It's Rashard Lewis and Rashard Higgins. There's one other player that's Rashard.
Wait, are you thinking of Ricardo Lewis?
No, I've got them all jumbled in my mind, and it's now that I think about it, I'm tripping over it, and it's starting to. Because I remember him when he was at CSU. He was a nice DFS wide receiver back then. I always saw him as more of a not like a possession guy, but never really a burner, which is kind of interesting that you were saying that. So nice try. Gave us $22. Wow. Thank you. If you got a question in there, throw it in. We'll definitely answer it, but we appreciate it. We can't do this without you guys. So a few quick housekeeping items. One, everything on the Awesemo YouTube network, with the exception of the Live Before Locks, goes out on our Awesemo Podcast network, which is available on every podcast platform that you can think of. Separately, we are going to drive for 50,000 subscribers by the Super Bowl. We are at 47,800. We are marching there rapidly. There will be some big giveaways when we hit that 50,000 milestone. Please, in addition to liking the video, we appreciate that. Also hit that subscribe button. It'll help us out with the YouTube algorithm. And then it will also help us out help you out in knowing when we are going to go live. Let's see here. Can you fade both QBs? That's a good question. We'll get to that one in just a sec. Let's finish up the tight ends here for Cleveland. So we've got Austin Hooper. Oh my God, he had 15 targets last week. Or in week 16. That's because there were no receivers. Let's see. Last week he had 5. When healthy, he is definitely the top option over David Njoku. However, there's a big price disparity. Now, DraftKings makes it interesting. Hooper is 3 times as expensive as Njoku there. That's where I'm willing to pivot. I have a rule where I'm only playing one of these guys in any fashion. And then, but I don't, like, I was so excited last year for Njoku, had him in tons of best ball drafts, and then he got hurt like week 1 or 2. And yeah. That was it. And he just, took him all year to recover. And then every time he seemingly has had the opportunity when Hooper's been out this year, it's been Harrison Bryant that has had the better games. So I'm tepid on this one just because I also don't think there's a lot of passing volume, but Njoku does give you some salary relief. Anything stand out other than that particular assessment?
No, I mean, I do think it's I don't know. I like Njoku as a player too. I was disappointed that even when Austin Hooper is out, they generally give Harrison Bryant the start. So as far as the backup tight ends go, not a ton of interest. And like, as far as Austin Hooper goes, it's just I'm generally, if I'm like getting anywhere close to that price range, like I'm just playing so much more Rashard Higgins. It's not that I think Hooper is a bad play. If he catches a touchdown, my Rashard Higgins probably won't beat him. But I think given that their target volume isn't going to be drastically different, but their air yards volume will, I'm like almost always going to be making the decision to go to Austin Hooper, or to, excuse me, go to Rashard Higgins just because of the pricing, the upside, and the ownership. If we were going to have no ownership on Austin Hooper, that's where the difference come in. But if people are going to play them at roughly the same rate, which is what it looks like it's going to be, just give me the downfield burner all the time.
All right, and then takeaways. So for the defense here, Cleveland is basically last in the league they're 8th, but they're averaging 1 per game. That's not very good. Pittsburgh is only allowing 1 turnover per game. That doesn't sound very good. On the sacks, Browns get 2.5 per game, but Roethlisberger has been sacked 15 times, 25 times, or 35 times this year.
Roethlisberger's going to attack 15, 25, or 30. I'm going to go with 15.
Technically 14, but I was trying to... That number might have stuck in your head, so I was trying to trick you a little bit. But yeah, that's pretty darn low. Now, granted, he didn't play one of the games. That just goes to show that he does a pretty good job there. His career per game sack rate is almost 2. So he, over his last 2 years, it's gone down to about 1. He doesn't stand there and have guys bounce off him anymore like he used to. Remember that? It'd be like he'd have
he was
carrying a defensive lineman or something. It's like, yeah, he's not 37 now. He's not quite doing that anymore. Coming up, speaking of which, let's 38. Sorry, 38 in his 17th season. That would be Ben Roethlisberger. So here's the things that I said. So the Browns have been in the bottom third of the league in almost every defensive metric you want to look at. Their advantage, however, has been controlling the time of possession. They also made the playoffs on the strength of going 4-0 against the NFC East. So a little bit of posers there, I think, but we'll see. Any given Sunday, anything can happen. So this will be the 11th time Roethlisberger has, or 11th year he's been in the playoffs, which is pretty impressive as well. So obviously he's relatively unflappable. And as I mentioned towards the top of the show, he is averaging 40 pass attempts per game. I think he has 2 or 3 where he went 50 or higher. Is Roethlisberger captain worthy? Do you want him in nearly every lineup between captain and flex? Because he projects about 5 points higher than everybody else, with the exception of Deontay Johnson, who gets close to him on the full PPR of DraftKings.
Yeah, because for this game, I'm not sure we're really seeing what I think is the right discrepancy of ownership between the Browns and the Steelers, given that the Steelers are pretty significant favorites in this game. I don't know, this would be too specific of a prediction, but the last I checked, the Saints kind of just rolled the Bears. And this game, outside of the Saints having a 29 implied total and the Steelers having 26.5 implied total, this game kind of projects to be like that. Not incredibly high scoring and generally lopsided-ish. Lopsided from once you get over a field goal spread. That's pretty significant, to a point where I'm playing just a lot of Steelers, and that means I'm playing a lot of Roethlisberger. I might end up having him in every lineup. I have to double check, but that's what it looks like it's going to be. My big stand is just I'm not going to be having any real Browns heavy lineups. If they go out and upset the Steelers, I probably don't win on this slate. I can guarantee you I won't be winning. In terms of captain ownership, I think in the smallest tournaments, 100, 500 man, you can play Roethlisberger. I mean, maybe you should play a lot Roethlisberger even. I just think for the size of tournaments I'm playing in, which are multiple thousands of people, he's probably going to be the most popular choice at captain. And I think there's a decent chance one of his receivers. Now, do I know which one? No, but I think there's a decent chance one of his receivers outscores him. I'm just shotgun firing my lineups off, grabbing as many of his receivers as I can in captain, and mostly using them in the flex.
So on the last slate that we had, or the all day Sunday slate, I said I don't want more than 2 of his 4 main pass catchers for Roethlisberger. The reason I did that is your point. I don't know who it's going to go to. They all project about the same. They all are about the same price on both sides. They're all about the same ownership on both sides. What are we supposed to do? So you start to parse it out. Okay, well, we got Deontay Johnson. He's probably my favorite, right? But is there that much to discern, elevate him above the other 2? No, not really. You've got Chase Claypool, who has 9 receiving touchdowns on the year, tied for the team lead, can score from anywhere on the field, but we saw his snap count kind of go down a little bit. James Washington's go up. Again, dynamic rookie, can literally score from anywhere on the field. I think he had 2 rushing touchdowns as well earlier this season. They haven't been running him that much. And I don't know if that was one of those shovel passes or something like that ended up counting as a run because it went to him, behind the line of scrimmage or whatever, or went backwards behind the line of scrimmage. But, he's probably my next choice. And now Juju Smith-Schuster, who was Mr. Efficiency for the first part of his career. Again, we've said, was this like the 5th time we've done a Pittsburgh primetime game? Yes, the first 5 weeks of Juju Smith-Schuster was ass. He had like 28 targets, I think. He's been perfectly fine since then. And they all kind of combined together. Now, he is dealing with a little bit. He tweaked his knee, probably doing one of his TikTok videos. But, and I say that, I had to look up. I put that in my article. I didn't know how to spell TikTok.
Come on, EMac. We got to get you on TikTok.
I typed it out as, like TikTok of a clock. And I said, you know what? I don't think that's what that doesn't feel right. So I had to go look it up. But in any event, all of a sudden now we have this phenomenal receiver that is just having somewhat of a down year and really has been just equal to his running mates over the last, back half of the season. So he's in the mix. And then you got Eric Ebron, who has let me put it this way. In games that Vance McDonald has played in when Eric Ebron has been active, Vance McDonald has 14 targets.
Yeah.
Yikes. So clearly Ebron is a favorite play of mine. But again, I didn't really want to go with more than 2 of these guys because one of them's going to have a good game. 2 of them are going to be adequate, and one's probably just going to be left out. I have no idea amongst those 4 how you want to rank them for that. So let's spend just a moment there, and then we'll talk about the Steeler running game. What is your read on the pass catchers? If you play Roethlisberger and captain, I want 2 of them. I don't want more than 2, though. And I set receiver rules. I didn't say if I have a receiver pass catcher captain that I have to have the quarterback. Roethlisberger we're just going to get the way his price is and the way everything else is. But I bumped him 25% if a pass catcher is a captain. I did Mayfield, I think, at 12 or 15% because I wanted him on a few lineups. But he may only have 200 yards and 1 touchdown. His receiver's going to outscore him. Whoever catches the touchdown is probably going to outscore him. Right, so people like to know what the groups are doing. How are you handling the Steelers' even Steven core of 4 pass catchers?
Yeah, so for the Steelers, I think it is pretty clearly Deontay. Like, it has basically been this since I think week 7 was when Deontay Johnson finally stopped leaving games early, which was like his calling card early in the season, which was crippling because I was playing a ton of him and I still am. But finally in week 7, I believe it is, since then, he leads the team in target share, obviously, and is number 2 on the team in air yard share. That is only because Chase Claypool, who isn't even a full-time player, leads the team in air yard share. Supposedly, this was like Mike Tomlin's phrasing. He said he didn't want him to hit the rookie wall. I don't even know what that means. I'm not sure how you could watch Chase Claypool and say, like, we got to play him less. We got to get James Washington more looks. I think it's very possible that now that they're in like absolute must-win situations from here on out, we even see more of Chase Claypool, like less James Washington. So I'd rank them just slightly Deontay, and it's only their pricing. Like if it were the same price, I'd still have a pretty heavy lean towards Deontay, but given that Chase Claypool is significantly cheaper, slight Deontay Johnson lean even at his price. I really like Chase Claypool just because we know he's sort of the Rashard Higgins of this team, except he even has like a higher projection because he plays on a more pass-heavy team, is probably a better player outright and probably has the better quarterback play. And then Juju is fine. I definitely wouldn't rule him out. He's probably the guy who's most likely to play the most snaps, to run the most routes. He just has such a low ADOT and he plays with such talented receivers that generally outside of scoring, he's probably the lowest ceiling of them. But if he goes out and scores 2 touchdowns, the ceiling would not, it doesn't end up mattering. Eric Ebron, sort of the same style where I think he definitely has a lower ceiling than the other guys, but I'm stacking up basically every way I can find to get pieces of this passing game. So I'm going to have some Eric Ebron. James Washington is just, if he goes out and catches a touchdown, probably makes the optimal lineup. Anything less than that, and I'm not really interested in him. I don't have him projected to catch a touchdown, so I don't have a ton of him, although it's just like the median projection I'm working with. He has a small chance of scoring. It's worth chasing a little bit maybe, but I wouldn't go overboard, especially because my theory is that we see a little more Chase Claypool. And in terms of how I would set my rules, if I had Ben Roethlisberger captain, I would have a minimum of 2 pass catchers. I think you could go as many as probably 3 at least, honestly, especially if they just happen to throw 4 scores through the air. One guy gets the 100 and doesn't score. That means probably 3 other players scored. there are realistic scenarios where you get 4 pass catchers, Ben Roethlisberger, and Kareem Hunt scores the lone touchdown or whatever it may be. So I would say minimum 2, and I wouldn't set a ceiling on it, essentially. If I have a receiver in captain, I still think I'm fine playing at least one of the other Pittsburgh pass catchers in my flex. Probably even I'd be fine playing 2, because if Pittsburgh goes out and just racks up scoring again, we could have a receiver that scores more than Ben Roethlisberger. You just jam in the Pittsburgh passing attack with the best one at captain. Although I wouldn't be making it a point to play Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, and Juju Smith-Schuster and Ben Roethlisberger. I'm more likely to play 2 of them plus Ben Roethlisberger than I am to play 3 of them plus Ben Roethlisberger.
All right, we have another chat from Nice Try, super chat here. So we'll circle back to this one, but we're going to talk about, he wants 3 players under $1,000 on DraftKings. In the meantime, let's get up to 120 likes. I will drop in my 10 head-to-heads for you guys there. We have almost 500 people watching and 90 likes. Come on, let's get up to 120. And then we want to say, hey, thanks to No House Advantage for sponsoring the show. So let's talk about them. So they are the first daily fantasy sports site to offer full player prop contests. They do this for NBA, NFL, and PGA. It's a peer-to-peer format, meaning you play against other gamers, not the site. When you think prop betting, you think, oh, I'm going against the house. No, there's no house advantage. That's why they named their company that. We're playing each other head to head, GPPs, 50-50s, the usual formats that we're used to. So we have free projections on the site. Here, let me drop the link into the chat. Too many windows open at once here. But the one I want to ask you on here is, and this will get us to the Steelers running backs, James Conner, 55 rushing yards, over or under? They've been saving him for the playoffs.
Yeah, man.
Bullshit.
His market share numbers aren't the worst. He's played like 2 games since returning from COVID, and even the week 17 game really did not matter, as evidenced by like a lot of their starters not playing. I believe he has like 14 of 22 carries in the past 2 weeks, so we can still project him to be his team's #1 running back, but he's been dreadfully inefficient. The whole Pittsburgh offense, regardless of if it's been Benny Snell, Jalen Samuel, Anthony McFarland, has been bad as a rushing unit. They don't run the football a lot. I'm going to say under. I don't even hate him as like a tournament play. I think he's fine. He has the potential to steal touchdowns from probably the much more popular plays at captain, but I think his ownership probably ends up being efficient. Like 7% ownership at captain, that's fine. Actually, I think that it's okay to take some shots at that. Outside of that, though, outside of big tournament stuff, I generally think I probably would just bet as a median, bet the under.
Yep, absolutely, and then take the over on the interceptions here. Baker Mayfield, they made it a little tougher, 1.5.
Oh, that's a rare line. We don't usually get 1.5ers. I assume we have the under on that.
We have the under, and it's the implied value on that is 35%. So, go. All right, let's see. So finishing up, No House Advantage. Again, if you sign up, use the promo code Awesemo. They will match up to your first $20 in a deposit bonus. Refer a friend. As soon as they make a deposit, they'll give you another $5. Beat your friends. Don't play the house. Play your friends. All right. The 3 plays under 1,000. That would be DK style. So there aren't that many viable plays that are under 1,000. So I would say Benny Snell is. You're really going to need him to get a red zone rushing touchdown. We already know the Steelers are just as apt to be throwing in the red zone. And you got to hope somehow Connor doesn't get it. But it is possible. You also have Jalen Samuels. I'm not very interested in him. We aren't even projecting him for more than 2 fantasy points. So I don't really feel that he is a viable option. I would have said Marvin Hall, but he's not playing. But that's because he was just the bare minimum 200. I guess you could say the same thing about Jalen Samuels, but he's kind of the third running back on a team that's probably going to pass way more than expected. So I guess we could say, let's put the over-under on touches or opportunities, targets plus carries for Jalen Samuels at 3.5.
I was gonna say 2.5, so we're in the same ballpark for sure.
Yeah, so that now becomes viable, but it's where I liked the receiver was if he gets one, there's a better chance it's gonna, he's gonna catch it and get 17 to 25 yards. Mm-hmm. All of a sudden, you get 3 points on that. If Jalen Samuels has 3 carries and his target bounces off his hands, he may have 3 rushing yards, so he may only have 0.3 fantasy points. That's the difference between those to provide a little context. And then Harrison Bryant, secret option C, coming in here at 800. He is, we're projecting him for 3.5 fantasy points. I think that's about right. Basically, 2 targets, he catches one of them, or maybe 2 of them, and gets 20 yards. That gets you about there. I think he's viable. I did set a rule where I wasn't going to play more than 1 tight end under any circumstance from Cleveland, but those would be the 3 I would look at.
Yeah, I don't think we even have like plus 1 point. I don't think we have a player projected for more than 1 point under 1,000 other than the guys you just named. I think Harrison Bryant is probably my favorite because I think given the tight receiver rotation, he would be most likely to basically act as like receiver number 4. Like he has that potential to basically swing in as both tight end 2 and receiver 4. And I think they're more likely, our projection at least has it, and I agree with it. He's probably more likely just to play straight up over David Njoku. So I think both the tight ends on Cleveland are worth chasing a little bit in large field tournaments, but the question stipulated under 1,000, and Bryant is, I think, clearly our best play under 1,000.
All right, come on, 3 more likes here. We'll be at 120. By the time you hear this, that you better have those likes up. I am dropping in my 10 head-to-heads here over on DK. We're gonna have a little fun with this. Sure, I put in a lineup for them. I've got all my rules set. I've got all my percentages set. I've got everything going here, but I think I don't know that I'm even going to play a 3-3 Cleveland side. So as we start to look at those sorts of situations, leverage against the field, etc., does that kind of a lineup construction help you do anything? Because all right, let's map this out. Let's say somehow Cleveland wins 21-17. Not an impossible outcome by any stretch. That's the kind of low-scoring game it's going to need to be. Which of the 3 Cleveland guys would you want to try to capture that?
Yeah, so if Cleveland ends up winning this game, I think you have to think the passing game at least does something, right? Like, I don't know. To me, teams that are generally run first, like their win conditions versus other good teams are that they pass the ball well. Like to me, it's the Titans of this week, is that the Titans needed to pass the ball well to end up winning that game, and it just wasn't going to happen. So I'd probably play a running back because that makes sense. So Nick Chubb, sure, Kareem Hunt would have worked too, and then go with at least 1 Baker Mayfield plus receiver type of build. And honestly, I'd probably go a 4-2 lineup. I think they're still, even though Cleveland are what I'd say significant underdogs here, I think 3-3 is probably still going to be one of the 2 most popular builds, plus 4-2 in favor of Pittsburgh. So I'd rather, if I'm betting on Cleveland, I'd rather bet more heavily on them in terms of my player exposure with a 4-2 than I would for a 3-3. I think that's like the type of middle that you don't want to have. I want to capture all of the upside that Cleveland comes out and wins. So I would say my Cleveland wins lineup would look probably something like Landry at captain, Baker Mayfield, Nick Chubb, and Donovan Peoples-Jones, something like that. You could probably also like Cody Parkey or even Brown's defense in, because like, even though Ben doesn't take a ton of like sacks or anything, if it's just a low scoring game, them getting 9 or 10 points could be enough. I'd probably still favor a Peoples-Jones, but anything like that with basically 1 or 2 pass catchers, a running back, and Baker Mayfield, the 2 run backs is probably whoever its pass catchers most likely.
Right. They were saying, asking thoughts on Vance McDonald as a sneaky play. Where's my stat? In games where Ebron has been active, Vance McDonald has 14 targets this season.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't have really thought about him too much, and then you dropped that stat, and I was like, "What? You're likely to get 2 shallow-ish ADOT targets. Like the upside, the ultimate upside feels like what Anthony Burks did today, which is 2 for 44. And there's no guarantee 2 for 44 even makes the optimal lineup if it just doesn't fit that way, that you don't need to play Vance McDonald. Someone in his price range scores a touchdown. So for me, like when that seems like it's your upside, I ain't chasing that.
Parkey or Ebron? I would go Ebron.
Yeah, I mean, I would just in a vacuum go Ebron. I'm sure we have him projected for more points.
FanDuel becomes a little bit more of a question because it's half PPR, but I would lean towards Ebron in that one. Let's see. Steve Leibowitz has a good point here. He says maybe the argument for a 3-3 split would be a very concentrated Steelers offensive narrative, and then you don't need a lot of Browns scores to do better than anybody else that went to Steelers that did not do well. If it was your Browns that did better than those guys, right? Absolutely valid point there. I was told there would be no math. All right. Oh, did you know it's the last day today to get 21 days of Awesemo All Access Premium for $20? You can get that by using the promo code 2021. It is also the last day that you can use the promo code HAPPY, which will garner you 20% off the full 1 year package. That deal not coming back till next year, so don't miss out on that. Nice try says thanks. He'd forgotten he had Hall on a few lineups.
Nice.
He adjusted. Good man there. Yeah, get him out. Get anybody else in at this point. They were saying that the Titans defense outscored Derrick Henry and Corey Davis combined.
Well, I know Corey Davis had 0. I can tell you that much. And Derrick Henry went it was 18 for 40 plus 3 for 11. So that's 7 or 8 points. So yeah, that doesn't surprise me. The Ravens didn't put up a ton of points. Lamar Jackson threw a pick. So I'm not shocked by that, knowing what happened.
All right. I'm going to finish off my, let's see, Nick Chubb. I'm going to go under the field. We'll take 20. Connor, you know what? I'll match the field. 28.8.
He's fine. Like I don't think Connor's a bad play. He's
all right, I'm going over the field. 35.
Yeah, he's a favored running back on a team that's, I believe, at home. 5.5 point favorites. The defensive matchup isn't difficult by any means. And I don't expect his backups to take away a ton of work. Like his market share numbers could be higher than Nick Chubb. Obviously, the pie he's working with is a lot of different of a size. But like I get the arguments for James Conner. It's fine. And I definitely didn't rule him out of my lineups. I may end up coming in under the field, but that's mostly just my favoritism of the passing game, not like a knock as much of Conner.
Got to go in here and set these rules. Allow players against the defense. Some randomness here. Let's shake it up. All right, we're going to hit Crunch Build. The first 25 lineups, see what comes out. I'm very restrictive. I only created 22 lineups. That means I have way too much restrictions on my items here. But let's see. I'm not going to be using Vance McDonald in the captain. Let's just delete that lineup now. Okay, I'm okay with this one. Now, I basically did that one so I'd get a bunch of different captains, right? So I just set everybody at captain at 5 because I wanted to make sure I get a bunch of different people at once. Now I'm going to go through and let's just basically roll with the Steelers because I'm a fish and that's what I like. And Rashard Higgins, he's going to be my guy. They're saying Hall's out. Somebody is. NBA. If you're playing NBA, Siakam starting at center tonight. Just an FYI. Kyle Lowry is back. And we shall see. Okay, that lock is shortly here, but we are about to lock here in 7 minutes. Oh, that was a good point. Have you ever seen Super Troopers?
No, I know what it's about.
Oh, that is a good movie. I would have figured you would have watched it like 50 times. Yes. We'll save that for next time. I think I've got what I want here. Run another few lineups for luck, and then let's just upload these, right? Do the download. We've got 5 minutes left. If you guys have not put in your lineups, you definitely want to do that. Last time I had to produce a show, my whole computer froze, and I ran a single lineup across all of my. That was the Rex Burkhead 2-touchdown night.
Did you have Rex Burkhead in your single lineup?
I did. I cashed everything except the boosters contests. I was winning quints, triple. Oh, I put in those 10 lineups. I've got, you guys only took like 6 of them. There's 10 lineups in DraftKings right now, head-to-head lobby. Username EMac for $1. Jump on in there, have some fun, laugh at me on Twitter if you win. I will say I did go 11-1 yesterday in the NBA once, but last week when we did our NFL Showdown, I believe I went 2-10. So sometimes it works, sometimes it does not. You'll have a decent chance here for team free money. No money hat. Have you seen the Spags money hat yet?
I have seen a picture of the money hat. I've never seen money hat active live. I'll have to tune in for a live money hat. But no, I understand the concept of the cash cap.
There, oh, the cash cap. There we go. We'll call it the salary cap.
Damn
Um,
it.
yes, there are 3 different colors. He debuted the gold bunny hat tonight, or earlier today. All right, let's get these loaded here. I've got a ton of Ben Roethlisberger. That should be no surprise. I'm not being original. Whatevs. We'll live with that. Upload here and we'll talk about where I landed. 4 minutes left here. If you love Super Troopers, you should watch. Oh, the Tacoma FD. Broken Lizard, right? That's the comedy troupe that's in that. So yes, I think they also do beer fest, beer Olympics, I forget what it was, but those
I think I know that one actually.
Yeah, so those guys are kind of funny. Let's see. Again, this is your last day for the Awesemo 21 days for $20 using promo code 2021. It's also your last day to get 20% off the 1-year annual package. That deal is not coming back until next year. That is 20% off using the promo code HAPPY. All right. So I am going 14% Roethlisberger in the captain. I have 20% Deontay Johnson. So I'm almost double the field. I have 17% Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm almost double the field. I have 11% Chase Claypool. So that's doing well. I am fading, for the most part, James Conner. 3% in the captain. Why is it not showing James Conner? I have him 35%. So in my flex, I don't think I played him at all in my Saturday through Sunday and my full Sunday and my afternoon Sunday contest. So there we go. Here's his representation for me. I'm going 46% Deontay and flex, 40% Juju, 34% Jarvis Landry, 31% Claypool, and 32% Rashard Higgins. And I've also set that rule where I'm only playing, for the most part, just 2 of the Steelers pass catchers. And I think that's what's helping me get in a few more Cleveland Browns. And I'm okay with that after Steve Leibowitz kind of pointed out one way that you could get, or one way that the Browns could actually help you in a 3-3 mix. So that allowed me to keep some of my 3-3s. All right, 3 minutes to go here. Who are you terrified of not having enough of on your list?
I mean, I'm not terrified. I typically am not terrified in the way you think of. Like, I think I'm making all optimal choices. Like, I wouldn't be doing this if I didn't think I was making the correct choices and I didn't have like the track record and the math done to verify it. So I typically think like, if I lose, that's the variance that hits. But like, if I lose, it's going to be because of Nick Chubb. Like, Nick Chubb is, if he does his typical Nick Chubb things, or if the Browns go out and win, which would also be bad. But if Nick Chubb goes out and does the Nick Chubb things, I have a lot of pieces of the Browns passing game because I expect them to pass more than usual because they're supposed to lose. So I'd be fine with Jarvis Landry going off. Maybe if he goes for 150 and 1, I don't have enough of him in captain, I probably won't have a terrible night. If Nick Chubb goes for 150 and 1, I'll be having a bad night.
Claypool, Connor, or Hunt on FanDuel? I will go with Claypool.
Oh, our type of receiver. I go Claypool all the way there.
I think it's a valid question, but we've had all season to see it from Connor, and that's the guy I'm afraid I don't have enough of. You know what? What's his best case game tonight? 55 yards and 2 touchdowns?
I think he could hit the 100-yard bonus.
100-yard and 1 touchdown?
I guess technically, probably the best case scenario is 102. I think the median looks nothing like that. And I think he probably is one of the players who struggles most to hit the 100-yard. I think like Claypool is vastly more likely to go for like a massive game. I think Claypool's ceiling is much more attainable because like Connor's requires him being successful 15 times in a game or something. And that is something he hasn't done all season, is just like string together an entire good game. Essentially, it's happened like twice. Whereas Claypool, like he needs 3 good targets. Like he can get there on 3 targets. So, I mean, yeah, I think Connor has 102 as his ceiling, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, that is. I just think it's very unlikely he actually attains that ceiling. Whereas I think a ceiling outcome for Claypool is much more attainable. And the same with Deontay Johnson, probably in the same ballpark with Juju.
All right. With that, we are at lock. We're going to do this all over again tomorrow. Let's see. Do they have the schedule updated? Always a question on The night show. So 10 a.m. tomorrow, you're going to get the NBA strategy show. It's going to be Adam Kaufman and Greg Ehrenberg. At 3 o'clock, we're going to get the DFS first look for PGA. That is going to be Jason Roslin and Jeff Ulrich. And then we have the NBA Deeper Dive at 5 with Lofty and Adam, following up with Live Before Lock. That is going to be Josh and Greg. So we've got all sorts of goodness there. Might have a new fun thing going on, NBA Live Before Lock. So definitely check that out. Any final thoughts, Kyle, before we get on out of here? And thank you, computer, for not freezing this time. It was much better.
No, I'm jamming a lot of Pittsburgh in. My family was born and raised in like West PA, so big. I don't really care. I'm out here to make money. This could be like Australia, like this could be Aussie rules, and I'd still just be out here to make money. But born and bred Yinzer, I guess. Let's go.
I was gonna drop a Yinzer and see if you got it there.
Oh yeah.
Are you drinking Yingling tonight?
No,
America's oldest brewery, by the way.
I have seen their posters that say that. No, I'll just head down to Permane Brothers, get a sausage sandwich, go down to the South Lot, watch a Steelers game.
Excellent.
Something like that.
Something along those lines. All right. Well, gamers, with that, we appreciate you following. Hit that like button on the way out. Hit the subscribe button and see what we're going to give away when we hit 50,000 subscribers. We are just nearly 2,000 away from that. We're going to get there by the Super Bowl. Good things will happen to those of you that subscribe. With that, you can follow Kyle on Twitter at Kyle Tweets Here. Wait, does it do? What do you do at the end? I always point down and say Kyle Tweets Here. You always like
I just chuck up deuces,
Okay. I got deuces down. TikTok, that's another thing. For deuces, I do know that one. And then, of course, it's Awesemo _COM. I am at EMac DFS.